This is Nate, 34, accountant. He makes $120,000 a year. Grew up in a house where money was tight. Every upgrade felt like proof things were finally okay. So when the money got better, Nate let it feel better. A nicer place, a newer car. None of it was reckless. That's the important part. Nate never blew money on anything crazy. But last week, Nate opened his banking app and felt something drop in his stomach. 8 years of good salary, 8 years of raises, and barely anything saved to show for it. He wasn't broke, but he wasn't building anything either. He was just running in place. And he had no idea that the exact thing making him feel successful was the thing keeping him stuck. Wanted was simple. The thing everyone tells you to want, to get ahead. He wanted to look at his accounts one day and feel safe, not rich, just solid. He believed the path was obvious. Earn more, keep earning more. Eventually, the saving takes care of itself. That belief is the most common one in America. It is also completely, quietly wrong, because more income doesn't automatically become more wealth. Something has to catch it first. Nate had no net. And down the hall sat a man his exact age doing the same job. James. Same firm, same seniority, nearly the same raises over the same 8 years, same money in. Unremarkable car, unremarkable lunches. James never talked about money. He just quietly did one thing differently. One thing, not smarter, not born richer, not some heroic act of willpower, just one structural thing. And that one thing was the entire difference between the two men. Nate just didn't know it yet. Let's go back to the machine that ate Nate's money. It's gentle. That's why it works. Year 1 at the firm, Nate got a raise, $4,000 more a year. It felt amazing. He'd earned it. And within 3 weeks, that raise had a new home. A slightly nicer apartment, $200 more a month in rent, which is roughly the whole raise. He didn't decide to spend the raise. He just upgraded his life to fit it, instantly. Year 2. Another raise. This time the car. His old one still ran fine, honestly. But the new one had a payment that lined up almost perfectly with the new raise. Funny how that works. Here's the thing Nate never noticed. Every raise arrived and left in the same month. The money touched his checking account. His brain saw it, and then it found a place to live. Year 3, dining out crept up. Year 4, subscriptions. Year 5, the nicer everything. Slowly, reasonably. None of it was a mistake. That's what makes it so hard to see. There's no villain. The system quietly absorbing his raises wasn't the bank. It wasn't his boss. It was comfort itself. Every finance app would tell Nate to make a budget and track his spending. And technically, that's fine. Except here's what that advice misses. Nate didn't have a spending problem. He had an absorbing problem. Tracking a raise doesn't stop it from being absorbed. You watch the money vanish in high definition. Nate had tried budgeting apps twice. Both times he watched the numbers. Both times, nothing changed. And he'd started to believe the story most stuck people believe, that he just needed to earn more. More income was the one thing that had never once solved it. He just hadn't connected that yet. The thing that cracked it wasn't a book or a podcast. It was a payroll form. Raises had just gone through. HR needed everyone to confirm their direct deposit details were current. Nate and James happened to be filling theirs out at the same table. Routine. Boring. Nate glanced over and noticed James was filling in 2 account numbers, not one. "Splitting your paycheck?" Nate asked. "Just small talk." James nodded like it was nothing. "Just the raise part," James said. "The new amount goes to a separate account. Automatic. Before I see it." Nate almost laughed. "That's it? That's the whole thing?" James shrugged. "That's the whole thing." Here's what James was actually describing. The day a raise hits, the raise amount leaves. It's moved automatically into a separate account before it ever lands in his checking. He never sees it, never adjusts to it, never treats it as extra, because to his day, it never existed. James is not fighting temptation every month. There's no temptation. The money was gone before it arrived. That's the part Nate couldn't get his head around. James wasn't more disciplined. He'd removed the need for discipline. Nate had assumed for years James was just cheap, or lucky, or came from money. None of that was true. Same paycheck, same raises, same 8 years. The only difference was one automatic transfer, set up once. He'd been avoiding for years. He added it all up. He's an accountant. This should have been easy. He'd just never wanted to see this particular number. 8 years of raises, added together, came to about $52,000 a year more than he started. $52,000 a year. That's a whole second decent salary he'd unlocked over those 8 years. Then he looked at what actually stuck, what he'd genuinely saved and kept across all 8 years. A little under $9,000. That was it. That was everything the raises had left behind. Say those two numbers next to each other out loud. $52,000 a year raised, $9,000 kept. Nate read his own math 3 times. He'd done thousands of these calculations for clients, never for himself. Then he ran James's version. Same raises, just moved out automatically the day each one landed. Not invested aggressively, not anything clever, just set aside the moment it arrived every year. That version had over $100,000 sitting in it, from the exact same paychecks Nate got. Same job, same money in. One had $100,000, one had 9. The only difference was a transfer. He'd spent 8 years believing he had an income problem. He never did. He had an absorbing problem. And the worst part? Knowing this changed nothing yet, because he still had to actually do something. If this is the kind of money talk actually feels, because it's not triumphant. When you realize you have lost years to something this simple, it doesn't feel like relief. It stings. Nate lay awake doing something painful. Apartment, the newer car. None of it made him happier. The apartment was just where he slept. The car was just how he got to work. That was it. $52,000 extra a year had almost nothing to show for the raises. Standard advice says, earn more, get promoted, ask for the raise. Nate did all 3. Here's what that advice misses. A raise you don't protect changes nothing. The absorption happens regardless of size. Double the raise, and the lifestyle just doubles to meet it. The leak scales with you, quietly. And this is the part that should sting. This wasn't just the last 8 years for Nate. It's every raise, every bonus, every promotion for the next 30 years of his career. Retirement isn't decided by one dramatic investing move. It's decided here, in the raises you never protect. Every future raise you get will do exactly what Nate's did, unless you decide otherwise first. James kept just over $100,000 fact same raises, same firm, same 8 years. He didn't earn more than Nate. He didn't budget harder. He didn't care about income or discipline. James protected the money before he ever saw it. Nate has already grown to swallow it. The decision has to be made once, structurally, before the next raise ever hits your account. That night, Nate sat on the edge of his bed and picked up his phone. He opened the banking app, looked at the balance, then closed it without doing anything. Then he got up and made a cup of tea he had no intention of drinking. The tea went cold on the counter. It always does. That is the whole ritual. And look, I know that stings. I wanted to be the exception too. Here is the thing about Nate. He is an accountant. This is what he sent every single day. He had been meaning to set up his own automatic transfer since a Tuesday in March. It was now October. 7 months. 7 months of meaning to. That is the whole story. The man who reconciles millions could not find 11 minutes for his own future. Now think about what those 7 months are part of. 8 years under 9,000 of it. That is a $43,000 a year gap. Money he earned and simply never saw again. Picture that money as time. $43,000 a year is a full year of freedom. Over 8 years, that is enough to have walked away from work for a couple of years. Not a fantasy retirement, just breathing room, the kind most people never get to feel. Meanwhile, across town, James was doing something complete had been deciding every single month. And deciding every month is exhausting. It is why the tea always goes cold. So Nate didn't wait for his next raise. He set it up that same night. Kitchen table, cold coffee, phone in one hand. He opened his bank app and stopped avoiding it. One recurring transfer, set to move automatically the day each paycheck landed. Then he closed the app. Not a budget, not a spreadsheet, not willpower he'd have to summon every single month. One switch. The money would be gone before he ever felt it, protected before his life could grow to eat it. His next raise was coming in the spring. For the first time, he already knew where it was going. Same salary he'd have had anyway. The only difference was one decision made before the money arrived. That's how you become the exception. Not more income. That's how you become the exception. Not more income. Not more grit. A choice made once, in advance. Subscribe for more.